Yo, what is going on guys, Flashverse here and welcome back to another video on The Flash Season 8, and this will be my trailer breakdown for The Flash Season 8 Episode 6 titled Impulsive Excessive Disorder. So yeah, we have obviously wrapped up graphic novel number 5, which is the Armageddon event, and this was hands down the best storyline we have seen on The Flash in a very long time. It's made a huge redemption to the show, and hopefully the back half of the season can continue as strong as Armageddon. But yeah, we are currently on a mid-season break until March 9, which is the longest mid-season break we've had, but that's because of Superman and Lois and Naomi, and that taking up Flash's time slot. The Flash will now be on Wednesdays, not Tuesdays, when it returns. So that's a new time slot which it'll be taking. But yeah, with this new time slot and after the break, we will be kicking off with Interlude Part 2. So we'll be kicking off with Episode 6, which is part of Interlude Part 2. So Episodes 6, 7, and 8 will all be interlude episodes. So they're all going to be filler episodes. They're not going to be tied to any story or anything like that. So if you guys remember from last season, we had those arcs where we had the Cisco episode, and then we had the Cecile episode, and we had the Allegra episode, all of which were filler. In which the Cisco episode, it was pretty good, I'll give it that. But overall, the interlude was just a total flop. It was awful and absolutely unwatchable. So this does get me very apprehensive for Interlude Part 2, but hopefully they have learned their lesson from last season and they have actually found ways to make this interlude better. But then after the interlude, we will be having 2 more graphic novels. So we're having 3 graphic novels this season, Armageddon, and then we're going to have graphic novel number 6 and 7. In which graphic novel number 6 is from episodes 9 to 13, and then graphic novel number 7 will be episodes 14 to 18, each with new storylines and obviously new villains. However, from Eric Wallace, we do know that some of the events of Armageddon and the timeline changes created from it will ripple onto the back half of the season as well, so I am very interested to see how all of that comes into play. In terms of the cliffhanger from last episode, we go to CCPD and we zoom into this framed picture of CCPD New Year's Eve 2014, and we zoom in and we see Bart and Nora appearing in the picture, which obviously hints to some timeline changes being created since Bart and Nora are now in 2014. And this does actually lead us into the trailer for the episode, where it does actually give us a bit more context in regards to what's going on. We do not have a synopsis this time because there's still a couple of months left until the episode airs, so they're probably saving that for later. So we're just gonna go by the trailer for context. Now, unfortunately, I'm not allowed to play the trailer on this video due to copyright issues. I know a lot of content creators do play the trailer on their videos, but for those who don't know, they do get copyrighted, and I just don't want to take that risk. But for those who haven't seen the trailer, I will link in the description down below so you guys can see the trailer and then come back later for this trailer breakdown. And also, if you guys go on to enjoy this video, be sure to drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel so you are aware of more Arrowverse content coming your way. But yeah, breaking down the trailer, we do kick off with some extra new shots from the vow renewal scene during The Flash Season 7, where we do have Bart and Nora saying goodbye to their parents in present day before they head back to 2049, which is their own timeline. Now, whether we get a time jump or not, I don't know about that, because we do know that Armageddon takes place 6 months after The Flash Season 7, whereas the events of this episode seems to be taking place around the time between Season 7 and Season 8, and not actually during Armageddon. It will be interesting to see what exactly happens which causes these different timeline changes, and what causes Nora and Bart to time travel to 2014 and all those sorts of stuff. But yeah, we cut to the Flash Museum and we have Bart and Nora going through a bunch of different articles, and they're noticing that the whole timeline is messed up. So we do know that they have gone to the future after Season 7. So maybe we could potentially get some sort of a time jump where these timeline changes are actually due to Armageddon, because as Eric Wallace said, the events of Armageddon will ripple onto the back half of the season. So although this is an interlude, this is still technically in the future as well as the back half of the season. So maybe some events of Armageddon have messed up the timeline, and over here Bart and Nora are noticing that these timeline changes are taking place and it's messing up the timeline, in which that's what results them to go to 2014 to fix it. Maybe that's what's actually going on. And we get a bunch of different random articles, and they're from different time periods. We have one from 2028, and then we have other sorts of articles. But we do get this very interesting one about Zoom going after a bunch of officers and killing them, but sparing Joe's life. This is obviously during that scene where Zoom kills a bunch of officers except for Joe during The Flash Season 2. But we do then have this shot of a newspaper of Joe actually getting shot in a jewelry heist. And we do have context to what happens in this scene through set photos, and it is very interesting, and I will go more in depth with it in just a second. So yeah, in terms of this jewelry heist, we do have this shot of Joe West and Eddie Thawne taking cover behind the door of the car, and they're obviously trying to arrest the criminal. And then we do also have this shot of Bart and Nora hiding behind a pole. Through set photos, we do know that this is all the same scene. This is actually during the jewelry robbery, where we have Bart and Nora saving Joe from getting shot from the hands of the one and only, the legend himself, Sterling Brooks. Yes, that's right, guys. Sterling Brooks is back. For those who don't know who Sterling Brooks is, it's basically that memed robber who always gets defeated in like 2 seconds, pretty much. Like, he was there when he destroyed Jitters during season 6. I'm probably putting a picture of him right now. But he's the one who's the returning villain. He's the one who supposedly is supposed to shoot Joe until Bart and Nora arrive and save him. But we do also have them in the crime scene, and in the back we do also have Eddie Thawne taking notes of like the crime, and maybe he's like asking eyewitnesses and all those sorts of stuff. So Bart and Nora are probably there as eyewitnesses. Maybe they could be doing CSI stuff by lying to Eddie and saying, "Oh wait, we're CSIs from this other place." They could do something like that. I highly doubt it though. We do obviously have Nora mentioning that the timeline is in flux. So maybe what is going on over here is that when Nora and Bart fix one thing from the timeline which has been messed up, other events from different time periods begin to get worse. Maybe that's what's going on. Obviously later on we do know that they're going to be able to fix it in some way. But how is the question? Because the more time traveling they do and the more interactions they do in the past, it just messes up the timeline even more. So I'm really interested to see how they're actually able to solve all of this. But yeah, we do have Eddie Thawne in CCPD going up to Bart and Nora and asks, "Who are you and why are you here?" Now he's obviously saying this because he doesn't know them, meaning they aren't cops or anything like that, and Bart and Nora just interact with Eddie. Now, as I said, they could be going on to say, "Oh, we're CSIs from this different place." They could be doing that, or they could just be acting like total strangers or something like that. I don't know, but this interaction is definitely going to mess up the timeline because Bart and Nora are from the future and Eddie Thawne's obviously from the past. He's from 2014. So yeah, it is going to cause some timeline changes. It seems like we're going to be getting an impulse point right now, or an impulsive excessive point, I guess. Something like that. Whatever you want to name it. Now, obviously, metahumans are not around at this point because this is during the time Barry is in a coma. So Bart and Nora do have to be very careful with what they do with their abilities, because if they use their speed, then it's gonna cause timeline issues. We do see them suited up in their super suits as well, so clearly they aren't being too careful. So as I said before, it will be interesting to see in what way do Bart and Nora use their powers. Like if they use flash time, that would be fine because everyone will literally be frozen, meaning if they just go on speed and stop like the jewelry heist, for example, nobody would see it. Whereas if they ran past someone, they would obviously see the streak of lightning going past them. So they do need to be careful of what power sets they use. And in the case of this episode, flash time seems to be the most logical one to use out of all the other abilities that they have. But yeah, they certainly are not allowed to use their speed, like running around the city, for example, because that will cause massive timeline issues. So they do need to be careful of those sorts of situations. At this point, we do know that Iris and Eddie are dating each other, so it will be very interesting to see Bart and Nora's reaction to that couple, and maybe they catch them in jitters making out or something. It'll be really funny to see Bart and Nora's reaction. Maybe they do even interact with Iris and then they give hints to that ship not working out. That'll be pretty hilarious as well, although that would mess up the timeline, so I doubt that they would do that. But just seeing Bart and Nora's reaction to Eddie and Iris would be pretty cool to see. We do also have Bart and Nora visiting Barry's lab in CCPD, and they see the lightning mark on the wall. So much interesting stuff is taking place during this episode, so this does get me very interested compared to other interlude episodes we have seen so far. It's got time travel, it's returning speedsters, and we do know that we'll be getting some sort of speedster elements. And we do know that we'll be getting returning characters like Eddie Thawne and even Jay Garrick as well. Now, just to point out, this episode will not be having Barry in it. He will only be there for the opening scene, which is that goodbye scene we saw in the opening shot of the trailer, and that is it. But that is understandable because Grant Gustin is obviously on break. He's worked incredibly hard for the past couple of weeks with Armageddon, so he does really deserve a break. And this episode is quite fitting for not having Barry because this is in 2014, so this is how they can easily get Barry out of the equation because he would be on a coma. But we do know that Jay Garrick is also returning for this episode, so it will be interesting to see what type of a role he plays in that episode as well. Maybe he notices Bart and Nora doing something, which is what leads to him time traveling to the future, so he can help solve whatever Bart and Nora's issue is, because we have seen shots or behind the scene photos of Jay Garrick in the Flash Museum, so we do know that he will be in the future as well, so that'll be pretty interesting to see. But yeah guys, thanks for watching. If you guys have enjoyed the video, please give a like and subscribe. Be sure to tell me in the comment section down below if you guys are excited for this episode. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video.